Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This time on the Kindness Project, 80's Kids TV, Greenwich Park, and we have part one of our interview with Louise Baker from Postcards of Kindness.
Good afternoon, good evening, my friends, good morning, my friends, whenever you're listening to the Kindness.
Good morrow, my dear people.
Good morrow, my dear people. Welcome to the Kindness Project.
My fine citizens.
I am joined by a girl who can use any of the 20 toilets in Wembley Stadium. It's Charlotte Dames.
And I'm joined by a man who'd love to be in a house of games or a fun house.
Oh,
It's Chris
yes.
Dames.
Fun house, a whole lot of fun, prizes to be won. I'd love to have a go in Fun House. They should do an adult version.
It's just a shame they never brought it back.
They should have done. They should do. If there was an adult version of Fun House or an adult version of Nightmare, I'd definitely give that a go.
Oh, I'd give Nightmare
I'd definitely give that a go. Or an amateur version of breakdancing, which is my new favourite obsession. I'd love to do that. Just imagine. I mean, what did you call breakdancing the other day?
It's awkward floor rolling.
Awkward floor rolling. You can tell that they've got an amazing amount of skill, and apparently all they're doing is rolling around the floor awkwardly.
So good.
Yeah, awkward floor rolling. Years of my life has gone into practice. What are you practicing, mate? Oh, don't worry, it's only awkward floor rolling.
Awkward floor rolling plus that one headstand I saw them do.
How are you at awkward floor rolling?
Oh, I suck at it.
Oh, you're not great at awkward floor rolling.
I can do the awkward and the floor rolling, but put them together and it just...
Yeah, the combination of awkward and floor rolling you can't do.
No.
What are you best doing on the floor rolling, and what are you best awkward at?
I am most awkward at...
Presenting this podcast.
Yeah, public speaking, presenting this podcast, and talking about my ideas. I'm best at floor rolling. My best floor rolling technique is the back and forth, where you hit the bed and then you roll back to the wardrobe.
This sounds like you've practiced that floor rolling. It genuinely does. How many floor rolls have you done up and down your bedroom? Tell me. Because that came to hand too quickly for you not to have floor rolled. You know where I'm best at floor rolling? Hills. And you know what my favourite hill?
That's not floor rolling.
What?
That's tumbling down a hill.
No. I'm talking about rolling like a sausage. I'm not talking about forward rolling. I'm talking about...
You mean the pencil roll where you stick your hands up? That's the one I do in my bedroom.
From my bed to my wardrobe and back again, and then to my bed and then to my wardrobe, and I keep on floor rolling. I can't believe that's an actual thing. When we were watching breakdancing the other day, I thought this will blow her mind. No, she's been doing it for ages. From the bed to the wardrobe, then to the bed again, and then to the wardrobe. I just awkward floor rolling. Unbelievable. No, my favourite role, right? And that's got to be a future question of the podcast. What's the favourite role you've ever done? My favourite role is the role that you can't do anymore because I think they've stopped it. But when I was a kid, there's a massive hill in Greenwich Park.
They put a fence up.
They did put a fence up, haven't they? That goes from the observatory all the way down into the park. And if you've ever been to Greenwich Park and gone up the observatory hill, you know it's a mammoth hill.
Can I ask, when you do that tumble, do you just let your arms flop about, or do you pencil it and you stick your hands straight up?
I've got a question for you. When you're going from the bed to the wardrobe, how do you do it?
Pencil. You point your toes and you point your hands.
Do you stay stiff as you're doing it, or do you have a little bit of a wobble?
No, you have to stay stiff, otherwise it's not a pencil roll.
All right, okay, fair enough. And apart from going from the bed to the wardrobe, and again, potentially another future question of the podcast, what's the longest distance you've ever rolled?
Well, other than the bed to the wardrobe?
Yeah.
The front and the back of my bed?
that's not far, is it? Have you never street rolled?
I think I might have. I don't remember. But the last time I rolled 10 times between the bed and the wardrobe, and then 27 times up and down my bed.
Right, that doesn't count as exercise. You know that. Just rolling from the bed to the wardrobe. What did you do? Did you do a cycling class or a HIIT routine? No, I did a bedroom roll. Anyway, back to the podcast. This week's question of the podcast is, when was the last time somebody helped you with something? So, when was the last time somebody helped you with something? Can you remember?
No, not a clue. Can't remember.
I think I get help every day, but I struggle with remembering specific help that I've had.
Yeah.
But you get helped all the time, don't you?
I have a friend and she just casually helps me with my book, and I send her a preview of the draft of the chapter, and she'll have a read of it and she'll go, brilliant, this is what I liked about it. There was a couple of touchy bits you might want to fix up a little bit.
Did she send you an email?
No.
How did she do it?
With WhatsApp message.
WhatsApp message?
Yeah.
Do you check your WhatsApp messages all the time? I mean, I'm talking about when you're not rolling from the bed to the wardrobe, from the bed to the wardrobe. I've had to turn my WhatsApp messages off because I've put Do Not Disturb on my phone literally permanently so that I go in and check messages when I need to, as opposed to the other way around.
I have WhatsApp on my laptop because the only people who ever message me are my friend who checks my writing and my mum. The only ones who message
Don't get them
me.
confused. Mum checking your writing and your friend saying, "Where's that washing I asked for 2 years ago?"
Here's this nice recipe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she does. You know what Mum loves to WhatsApp? Days out. She's like, "Oh, should we go and do that?" And you go, "Yeah, amazing. We'll do that."
And then we never do it.
Well, we have done a decent amount, but to be fair, I've enjoyed going back to work today. Today's the day I've gone back to work.
I can't wait to go back tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, because you do get a bit stir crazy if you have too much time off.
I've had 2 weeks off already.
You know what, Charlotte? If we were travelling or on the road constantly, I think we'd be all right. But
we're not sit down, stay home people.
No, we're not.
I can do it for 4 days, but after that, no, I'm done, mate.
No, I know, so am I, mate. But you know what we didn't do to entertain ourselves in that period?
Uno,
we need to get in our life. We need a bit of Uno in our life. But we didn't roll from our bed to our sofa to the wardrobe. We should have done some of that. Anyway.
You didn't.
Would you? Have you been rolling without me? But when do you roll? Have you? I wonder what all the banging was upstairs. Is she rolling?
Sometimes you just can't sleep and lay in the bed and go, what should
I'll have a roll.
I should do. I'll have a roll.
Cheese or onion? No, a roll. Right. Okay. If you'd like to get in touch with us, listeners, you
have a roll with it.
or tell us about your rolling habits. Unofficial question of the podcast: where have you rolled? What's your favourite roll? And what's the longest distance you've rolled? Official question of the podcast: when was the last time somebody helped you? But you can get in touch with us in a variety of different ways. At Holla Kindness, HOLA Kindness, on Facebook. Just Facebook search us, The Kindness Project. You can Google us at The Kindness Project and find us at www.thekindnessproject.co.uk or email us at holla, HOLA, at thekindnessproject.co.uk. Let's finish the rolling chat now. That might be a recurring theme in the future, though, where we explore rolling in more detail. Because what I'm curious about, Charlotte, is does it feel good rolling? Do you love a roll? It kind of hurts. And why do you roll on the flat? Surely it's better when you start rolling a hill and then, you gain momentum.
Is there a hill in my bedroom?
We can make arrangements.
Bring in the dirt, boys!
Well, where's Charlotte's Hill gone? Maybe we should get a little rolling track. We haven't got enough space now back garden for a skateboard track, but maybe a rolling assault course would be
It's just a strip of fabric that goes round. You just forward roll round it.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, let's get on with the show. Right, so next is our latest segment called Good News. Now, we haven't really worked out how we're going to jazz it up. Can you try and do a little jingle for Good News?
Good news.
Good News. French edition.
Oh,
It's French edition.
Good for the French. Good for the French.
No, good for the French. And I've got two pieces of good French news, so positive stuff that's happening in France. The first one is France was the first country to ban supermarkets from throwing away excess food. They must donate unused food or used at or face a fine. Now, I think this is an amazing idea.
Yeah.
Because you think about the amount of unused food or food that's nearly gone off but they need to throw away that doesn't get sold that could be used to
Feed the homeless.
Or go to food, like whatever way you're going to use it, use that unused food. Don't chuck it in the bin. That's just a waste. So well done on France for nudging supermarkets to use that food. And another one from France. France becomes the first country in Europe to ban all 5 pesticides that kill bees. So they've got rid of all pesticides that kill bees. What do you think of that?
That's nice, especially considering bees give us one of the sweetest foods I think I've ever tasted. Also, honey can be used in lots of medicines as well.
True. I learned an interesting fact today about bees. Apparently, bees don't die when they sting a non-mammal.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if they sting something where their skin isn't as elastic as ours, the hook containing the
just rips the...
Well, that's what happens when they sting a human. The hook goes in and they can't get the hook out because their skin is elastic. And the stinger comes out and that's why they die. If they sting something else where the hook doesn't stay in the skin, they can sting and sting and sting and sting. Did you know that?
Bees. Avoid mammals.
I don't know how many bee listeners we've got to the podcast, to be honest.
Stab your friends instead.
Bees, if you're listening and you've got access to a laptop, feel free to email us at holler@thekindnessproject.co.uk to let us know how many bee listeners we've actually got as part of our subscribers. How would you listen to a podcast if you were a bee?
You'd play it through your hive and everyone would listen.
Maybe
the beekeepers are playing the Kindness Project.
Maybe it's played through that. But the fact that we are... Because bees are actually dying out in a lot of countries, aren't they?
They are.
And they are part of our ecosystem, so it's really important we do that. What would you... what law would you put in place to encourage supermarkets to make sure they use the food that goes to waste in the UK? Would you fine or would you incentivise? What would you do?
I'd fine, I think.
Oh, the long hand of the law. Fine 'em.
Incentivise doesn't always work because they're not losing anything. And what's to say that what we're offering isn't something they don't already have or something they can live without?
But it's that carrot and stick argument, isn't it? So maybe you need a little bit of stick and a little bit of carrot. Potentially, I don't know. So that is what France is doing that's amazing. They are making sure that all food sold in supermarkets goes to good causes and doesn't go to waste. And they have removed pesticides so that the bees aren't dying only in France. But that's a step forward. And that is it for Good News this week. So now we're going to play a interview that I did with a lady called Louise Baker. Now, Louise is the brains behind an amazing thing called Postcards for Kindness that we've actually got involved with, Charlotte, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Do you want to tell everybody about Postcards for Kindness?
Oh, well, basically, it's sending postcards to old people, I think.
People in care homes,
Yeah,
basically.
basically, who don't get them from their own family, so we just send them some.
Yeah, and we've done quite a few now, haven't we? But the Postcards for Kindness movement has turned into a bit of a massive phenomenon. Phenomenon. You know when you say a word too much and it sounds weird? Phenomenon. And what I asked Louise to do is come on and talk about it. Shall we listen to her interview?
Yes.
Hello, Louise. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing really, really well, thanks. So far in our pre-podcast chat, we've talked about Alton Towers and getting up way too early, haven't we? So
We have, yeah.
what? Just out of interest, before we start the podcast interview, is Alton Towers your favourite theme park?
Oh, now you've got me. It's probably my most regularly visited.
Okay.
It's got some things sort of for the adults and for the children as they sort of grow up.
Yeah.
I probably have to say that my heart is with a little theme park that I don't know whether many of your listeners will have heard of, called Pleasurewood Hills, because when I was young growing up going to visit family in Suffolk, that's where we'd always go, so I'd say that's my soft spot is there.
Ah, right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's always that nostalgic element, isn't there?
There is very definitely, yes.
My favourite pier in the world is in a place called Walton on Naze, and it's just this little quaint 50s pier that looks the same now as it did in the 80s, but it's just got good memories, you know. It's that one of those places. Anyway, we're not here to talk about themes and theme parks and piers. We're here to talk about the amazing work that you're doing, so our listeners can understand a little bit more about that. Firstly, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so my name is Louise, and I am the marketing assistant for a care company called Your Health Limited. And this summer I launched, alongside sort of my company, obviously it's not just my effort, but I launched a Facebook group called Postcards of Kindness.
Okay, and tell us a little bit more about you, family, and what's your background, and how did you get into marketing for a care firm?
So I am married and I have two little boys who are 5 and 7 years of age, so they keep me pretty busy. And I've been working for Your Health now for it's approximately 18 months, I think. And I came into it because my background is very creative. I've always just wanted to write and create things for a living, and it matched really well with also wanting to help and make a difference. It's a sort of industry where the smallest gesture can make the biggest of differences, so I was really sort of drawn to everything that it brought together for me.
So you worked in the creative fields before. In what sort of sectors?
I have been a journalist, not for sort of any big publications, but I used to write the wordings on adverts, so I've done that before, but I've done a lot of customer service as well, so I quite like interacting with people and the very human element of things like customer service and retail. Okay,
fair enough. And tell me a little bit about Your Health group.
Okay, so Your Health Limited is based in South Derbyshire, so the central office for operations is in South Derbyshire, but we actually have care homes across the UK. We have 10 care homes, and they're as far afield from myself as Devon, Barnsley and Wales, but we've got some in sort of Burton-on-Trent, we've got Bretby, Ashby and near Nottingham as well. So we're spread out quite far and wide, but we're hopefully making a difference with all of our residents, and we love everything about what we do.
And your residents are typically people who are elderly?
Yes, the majority of our homes are elderly, residential, nursing and dementia care, although we do have a care home which looks after those with mental health conditions as well, but we are predominantly elderly care.
And tell me a little bit about, we're going to talk a lot about Postcards for Kindness, but tell me a little bit about how the project actually started. What sparked the idea?
Okay, so Postcards of Kindness was actually launched as a personal, not personal, but personal to the company project last year. My managing director, a lady called Vicky, went on holiday with her family and decided that once they'd run out of relatives and friends to write postcards to, the little boy Theo was still really very keen to write postcards, so she sent one each back to all of the care homes, and they went down really well. The residents absolutely loved hearing from somebody who, necessarily wasn't family or friends, but somebody who had thought of them. So she came back from holiday, and we had a chat about how we could brighten our Residents' Day, and we decided that we were going to ask for postcards. So we put out a social media appeal and asked. To be honest, we thought it was going to be the family and friends of residents and those in the very local community who were aware of the homes anyway. We asked them to think of us if they were going on a day trip or on a holiday, send our residents a postcard, and it exploded somewhat. We had thousands of postcards, and they didn't all come from the local community. We had them from abroad, from America, from across sort of Asia. We had loads of postcards from every continent, bar Antarctica. I think we managed in the end.
Oh, Louise, that's disappointing. You didn't get anything from an Antarctica.
I know. That's maybe the goal for this year. But it was phenomenal. We had lots of local media interest as well, which really helped it to blossom. And one of the things that I really loved is hearing from other care companies who sort of said to us, well, would you mind if we stole this idea? And we sort of said, well, no, of course not. Go for it. So we had a lot of positive responses from the residents and also from the staff who noticed a real difference in the residents. They were quite animated, they wanted to talk about holiday memories, and that was the point of the postcards really, is that they would spark memories, they'd remind the residents of where they used to go on holiday. We had some very typical, what you might call typical holiday destinations, like the old-fashioned seaside resorts, and they loved talking about going to Blackpool with their parents and donkey rides, but also they liked talking about maybe the far-flung places that they'd never been to or dreamt about, and they just loved the fact that somebody had sent them a postcard from somewhere in the world that they'd heard of but never been to.
Okay.
So this year we thought we'd absolutely love to do it again, but because of the interest we'd had from other care homes, and also quite a few people had said, I'd love to do this, but I just don't know who wants a card, we thought, well, we'll be the middleman, so to speak. And I set up this Facebook group simply with the idea of connecting care homes and senders so that care homes could tell us they wanted cards, senders could find their addresses quite easily, and everyone was brought together in one community, sort of with the same goals really of just spreading that kindness.
Amazing. So help me understand how that works practically then. The Facebook group is set up. If I want to send a postcard to somebody, what do I do?
Okay, so you would come and join our Postcards of Kindness group. We're quite easy to find. It's just Postcards of Kindness - the group. So you'd come and join as a member. We've made it a private group, not because we don't want to be found, but because there are lots of things being, shared backwards and forwards. We've got addresses being added and whatnot, so it's a private group. But everybody, you're welcome to come and join us. So you join the group, and there's a document on there which is updated live. It's a Google document, which means that as soon as an address is added, everybody can see it. So it's nice and up to date. And you'd head into the spreadsheet, and there are now, I think this morning I've registered, it's 1,259 care homes, I think.
That is amazing.
This morning. So you've got all of the addresses of all of these care homes, and you can pick, at random, or we've got an element of the spreadsheet which is location-based.
Geographical.
So if you wanted to, for example, choose a care home that a friend or relative might have lived near, or somewhere where you've got some fond memories, so you can tell them about your memories. You can choose by location as well. Great.
And how many cards have been sent? Do you keep track of that?
We try. It's really, as you can imagine, it's really difficult. I mean, I think as of this morning, again, we've got 31,100 members. So it's quite difficult as well, because, of course, we can't expect everybody to be online all of the time, not the members or the care homes. So there are people sending postcards that we would never know about. Not everybody announces postcards. There are care homes that receive cards that unfortunately aren't able to update us. That's absolutely fine. But so we don't know sort of who's had what. But we have an element of the spreadsheet where you can choose to send to a care home that's not had anything this week by sort of ticking a little box. Turns the box green, and I've heard from our members that it's quite an addictive thing to do. They love turning the box green because it feels like a very solid way of recognising that you've sent a postcard. So we know sort of from that this particular home that they've ticked off has had at least one card that week.
Yeah.
But we're in the several. We must be in the several thousands, hundreds of thousands. Even.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Some of the homes are sort of telling us they've received, 800 to 1,000 postcards already, and that's only really since July, I suppose, when it really kicked off. So it's been incredible.
Right. So help me understand then. So you're a busy mum. You've got a day job. How much time is this taking out of your life?
To be honest, it's not. It was quite crazy to begin with,
yeah.
which was wonderful. It's really nice to see how the group took off. But we do. It's not just myself. There's a small team of us of admins and moderators. And when one of us is off doing something life or work related, there's always somebody to sort of back up. So we look out for each other, look after each other, and look after the members as well. So it's not actually as time consuming as you might think, because our members they really understand as well that it's such a huge group, and there are only, I think there's 6 or 7 of us, so they're really patient and understand that we're not there all the time.
And I'd imagine the nature of the people who join a group like this are pretty positive, good people, right?
Yes, our members are wonderful. So, to be honest, the group wouldn't exist without them, and without their sort of commitment to the cause, and without them sort of wanting to play a part and keep in touch with each other. So they are the group, really. We're just there to make sure things run smoothly, but our members, they're the ones that really have made this matter.
You know what I love? I mean, I'm a member of your group, and we've started sending cards, and I love the photos of the people in the care homes receiving the cards. It's amazing. It's brilliant. I love it. It's just fantastic. So, I mean, you mentioned that the members are part of the secret behind building that really vibrant Facebook community. What else do you think is important in sort of making sure that works?
I think, there is an element of moderation. So we try and keep it on topic, because obviously when you're dealing with something as huge as, the topic of being kind to one another, it would be really simple, really easy to go, I think, off topics. We do try and keep it just to postcards.
Yeah.
So we approve and decline posts. It's not unfortunately, we don't have a free-for-all on the page. Yeah. Just because otherwise it would be, I think, really easy for things to get lost in translation. So to try and keep everybody up to date with what's happening, we do have that element of moderation. But to be honest, the members are all amazing with what they post as well. They tell us what they're sending out, images of what's being received as well. So that's the backbone, really, is that sharing, that community. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing to be a part of.
And help me understand where the furthest away from you is the postcard you've heard of receiving. So is it Australia? Is it
I think we've had. We've got now not just care homes registered in the UK. We've got care homes registered in America, Australia, Africa as well. So we've got a global community of care homes as well as members. So it's not only members that have joined from outside of the UK.
It's the care homes as well. Yeah.
And they're sending postcards to each other as well, which is another wonderful aspect of the group that I didn't really consider when we established it. Yeah. In that the care homes are writing to each other, so it's residents writing to residents over the other side of the world and sharing their circumstances, building another sense of community really as well there amongst themselves, and that's been fantastic to hear those stories as well. But no, we've had postcards from we've got Taiwan, we've got Australia and New Zealand, the Americas and Canada. So it's been incredible with all the postcards that have been sent from. Yeah, well, but again, no Antarctica, I don't think so.
Well, look, it's always good to have an aspiration, isn't it? And getting a postcard from Antarctica would be an amazing thing. Maybe in a few years, though, it's like you've got all this potential for intergalactic travel. Getting one from the moon might be even more amazing, mightn't it? But
exactly. And if you've got anybody on the space station who happens to be listening.
Well, I've heard it does get a bit lonely out there, so there might be a few podcast listeners who buzz in the time, but we'll see.
That would be amazing. We'd love to hear from you. Any of our care homes, we'd love to hear from space.
Yeah, that is a good aspiration. So, help me understand, because when you look on the group and you see the photos, you get a real feel for the good it does sending these postcards. But what's your favourite story of a postcard being sent to a care home resident and them just feeling good about it? What's your favourite story you tell?
Oh goodness. There have been so many. I suppose, sort of on a general level, not a specific story level, it's the residents who you hear about, and because we're aware, obviously, that a lot of the residents might be vulnerable. We're not sort of sharing details about residents, so sometimes you don't hear about a specific resident, for example, but you'll hear about a gentleman maybe who spends quite a lot of time in his room because that's his choice. He would like to spend some time by himself. He's not sort of maybe engaged, and it's hearing stories about people, residents like this, who have then been engaged and they want to converse with the staff members, and slowly but surely we've heard of the postcards are sort of bringing them out of their rooms, or if somebody's going to do one-to-one time with them, as they would do, they're sort of really engaged. So it's hearing about the postcards and the residents that have sort of connected, and it's lit a spark in them and actually inspired them to maybe come out of their shell a little bit. That's been wonderful.
So that was the first part of the interview with Louise. That was a bit amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, so far so good.
Shall we get on with the show?
Yes. 'Tis the end of another podcast.
It sure is. It's the end of another podcast. But, as you know, the end
It's
is
never the end,
really
because the end's always going to be something new. So now we're going to do this week's question of the podcast from last week. Ta-da!
And last week's question of the podcast was, as it's the start of a new year, what are your goals for 2020? And we had a few. Dunkirk.
To ensure my children are happy, and also to not fall over in the gym.
Dawn, I know Dawn, and she's got a history of falling over quite a lot in the gym, so that's a good New Year's resolution. I don't really believe in resolutions. Do you?
No.
But a good...
Everyone sets their goals too big or too high, and then they become this, instead of something like a goal to achieve, it becomes a chore.
Yeah, exactly. You need to make it fun, don't you?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Serena Duffy, like rolling. Like, I reckon rolling. I reckon just incremental rolling goals are the goal of the future.
We'll start with 10 tonight, we'll do 20 tomorrow.
Can I join in with the rolling? Is that going to be weird, me and you just rolling on the floor together?
There's not enough space in my bedroom, mate. I'm so sorry.
Gutted. Serena Duffy has passed my driving test and gained more independence and freedom. Caroline Thompson has said, I want to start losing weight so my belly doesn't stick out when trying on my wedding dress. Alison Hagan wants to...
Run 3 half marathons, are you mad?
You could do 1 marathon and a half, couldn't you, really? Al McCann said, listen better, be kinder, also learn to cycle. And Steve Chilton said to make sure my wedding goes smoothly this year. And our esteemed editor, Mr. Russell Dames, said...
he has a few things on his list for this year. He's going to continue to grow the Kindness Project, continue to work hard at being a better person, and last but not least, better myself in all areas, but mostly my health.
My health. So that was Russ, and then we had a few responses on Twitter, if I could see them.
The Little Bird app.
What did you... The Little Bird app. Little birdie. Now, you can think about... We were having a game the other day, and you couldn't think of a song. I said, can you think of a song that contained donkey? And you couldn't think of one.
That wasn't me.
Was that Sophie?
That was Sophie.
I'm doing that quite a lot, aren't you? I'm confusing all the women in my life. And we had a couple on Twitter. Now, Chris Bards, who runs a podcast himself called the Financial Wellbeing Podcast. And I was out running the other day because I am training to do a marathon in a few months. And Chris was kind enough to mention our podcast on his podcast.
Yeah.
So I want to return everyone the favour, give the Financial Wellbeing podcast a listen. It's amazing, run by Chris, Tomo, and Dave Blackwell, who helps them run it. They do talk about amazing stuff about how to use money to make you a happier person. With financial well-being, they talk about, and it's amazing. And in the episode they talked about community well-being, what you can do for your community to make you happier. He was kind enough to give us a little mention and the work we do, so high five for that. We are sharing the podcast love, Mr. Bud. Mr. Bud said his resolution for 2012 is to listen to more of the Kindness Project.
Chris.
So thanks, Chris. You turned into the Fonz. Hey, Chris. Was you trying to go into a bit of reggae there? Yeah, Chris. Richard Ellis said, reduce my consumption in many ways and increase positive action. And that, my friends, was all the answers we had for last week's question of the podcast. On that note,
It is truly the end.
it is truly the end. Have a lovely week and we'll see you next week.
Bye.